I think one of the flaws of our field is mainly that we're not as fast at innovators as the users of our buildings. And I think that can be an obstacle.
Hi guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the IBD Hub. I'm Julia De Mauro, your host for today and the founder of the IBD company. Today we have a very special guest. It's someone that I have known for quite a while now, and together we will talk about rethinking sustainability and technologies within educational buildings. And it's going to be a bit of a debate and discussion. And also there will be a part about how we think that the architecture field should innovate and evolve. To me, it's a very important discussion since this is the reason why we started the podcast in the first place. The idea was to really try to put forward innovative minds in the architecture and construction field and to inspire others. On another note, I just wanted to update you a little bit on the situation. Last week we have asked the listeners to propose some themes that would be interesting to explore on the podcast, and we have received many messages, so thank you for that. We're gonna have a look at all of them and try to assign the best person that will be able to speak for each topics. And then finally, before I get the guest on, I just wanted to introduce to you a little bit the ABD company, because we never talked about it. And I think at every single episode I should unveil a little bit more about the context of this podcast. So the ABD company was founded in 2018, and it is a business development consultancy that is specialized in helping architects, engineers, and real estate developers to find projects internationally and giving a proper business development strategy. We all have within the team a background of architecture and engineering, and the ABD Hub is really a project that we had for a long time in mind, and we're not yet able to put together for lack of time. And then with this pandemic, we finally managed to put something together to make it happen. We didn't know how people were going to respond, and we're thrilled that it's working out quite well. So I'm really looking forward to have many other episodes. And do not hesitate to check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram for more news. And we will announce soon, actually, we will have a live webinar at some point. So stay tuned for that as well. And now, without any overdue, I'm going to introduce to you the guest for today.
Hi, Markus.
Hi. Hi, Julia.
And today I'm with Markus Clarijs, the co-founder of the ArchiTech company. And you guys focus on healthy and distinctive design. You also use a lot of tools such as artificial intelligence and parametric models. And especially in collaboration with TU Delft, if I'm not mistaken.
True.
Yeah, and well, I I think of you as my mentor since a few years.
Oh,
So I'm
thank you.
extremely happy to have you here. And today, what I would like to discuss with you is how you see the changes of needs for the educational typology after the COVID-19 as well, because I think things will evolve through time. Now that we need to do social distancing and that people are more used to digital learning, I'm really curious to see your point of view on the theme, actually.
I think they are already ongoing. Thanks for having me. It's nice to cooperate on this themes. So yeah, I think that there are already a lot of things going on in the construction and architectural profession. I think that what you see, there is much more emphasis on well-being. There's much more emphasis on sustainability, on durability, on how we use our buildings, and you already saw that coming on. So I think that with the COVID-19 situation, things will only speed up. So digitization is getting a large boost. That's true. But at the end, if you look at what education is, you can theoretically absorb what's going on, what somebody is telling, or you can watch it on YouTube, you watch it on videos, but that's not the same as education. You need to also learn skills. You need to socially involve with other people in a workshop, or trying to find out how things work. And I think that that's actually sort of the division that you can see at the moment, that it is, of course, possible to follow a lecture online and absorb the information and do whatever you like with it. And that's nice that you can do that from home. But once it's necessary to interact with other people, then the digital platforms are not so suitable for that. So I think that what you see in office space as well, that maybe we don't need that much office space anymore, but we still need the meeting rooms. And those meeting rooms and college rooms for education are still valid, and they will look a bit different in the future. That interaction is something that we should redesign actually. Yeah. And I think from out of profession, actually, you already saw that there was something going on in well-being. The well standard is, of course, something that is still not very grown up, but is evolving. And I think that that people will see that as a bigger thing. Well-being is much more important, and it was sort of taken for granted. This is how we do this. This is our building. You don't look at it this way, but in this current situation, you rethink it again and say, okay, maybe this is how we always did it, but it's not suitable for the future anymore. Yeah.
And there was a video from Sebastian Erasmus, which I'm not really good at pronouncing, but he's an architect / artist that works a lot also with technologies. I don't know if you know him. He's based in New York, and he was debating whether people will actually sign up for universities in the future, because students are really putting themselves in debt in order to follow courses and move to the city of the university and find an accommodation there. And right now with COVID-19, some university had to shut down, and the rest of the year was done online, and it actually worked quite well, especially for architecture students. In the end, there was not that much difference, right? So my question is, do you think that in order to attract still students in the future, the universities will have to, attract them in a different way, whether it's in a design way or in organization? How can they attract students that maybe don't need that much interaction, like for instance architects?
Yeah, well, I do not entirely agree with that. I think that if you look at the architectural profession, that most of the time you need to show other people, your client, what you are doing. You need to present it. Of course, you can present online, and of course, you can learn from things digitally. So I think that maybe 50 or 70% could be online and digital.
We'll learn.
I think that interaction is very necessary because um, what do we need universities for? That is actually innovation. That is things that nobody has thought of. And not only education, but also to take it to the next step. I think that all the bright ideas, most of the time, come from universities of people who just left university. And I think in order to do so, I need social interaction to make my idea better. And I think that's difficult to do online. I think one-on-one is possible. 1-on-4 is also possible when you work in a larger group. That's no longer possible. So I think especially for those larger groups, that is necessary to have these spaces. And what you don't have, for architectural students, it might not be that much of a problem, but other universities or schools, you also need to practice things, or you need machinery or tools or things that you don't have at home. And those functions in a building, that's still necessary in the future. So I think a university will evolve. For instance, if you look at a technical university, if you have 3ME with a water basin where ideas are being tested, you need that here. That's actually an asset. A real asset of a university is nowhere there. If you have electron microscopes, you don't have that at home. And you still need to see if you can find the medicine, the cure for a disease like COVID-19. So I think that is something that we need still in the future. But the theoretical classrooms, I think they can be seen quite differently in the future.
Yeah. And I was also wondering, what do you think the impact of COVID-19 will have on design in more of a general way? Do you think that things will change, or will we go back to a normal situation, or will we start thinking about different ways to use buildings in general and different ways to collaborate and live?
Yeah, well, I think that on the short term, there will not change too much. More interest in well-being, sustainability, and that will boost this. And that also in digitization, of course, it's getting a boost out of this. I think we will rethink it, but I don't think it will be completely different. Those things were already happening at this moment. So I think it's mainly a boost, actually speeding things up. There is a transition from oil and gas to sustainable energy sources, and you see with dropping oil prices that we need to do different things. But it's not. We still need transportation. We still need houses, and we still need offices, but in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also with shops, for instance, if you see city centers, that's already something that has been going on for a long time already. And now you see everybody does their shopping online. What do you need a shop for? Just for fun shopping, or if you want to be there with certain kind of goods, but not everything. So you see that's something that is also speeding up during this crisis.
Also in terms of urban planning, I think things will change as well, and probably the cities will change in a different way. I think we need to evolve in the way that we're thinking and adapt the design to how we're living. I think one of the flaws of our field is mainly that we're not as fast at innovators as the users of our buildings. And I think that can be an obstacle if it takes us 5 to 10 years to build a building from the moment that you draw the first sketch. I think the users, the companies that are using the offices and in general, they will evolve much faster. So we need to start thinking now how our building will be used in 50 years, 100 years from now.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that flexibility is much more of an issue already in the last years. But I think that due to changing demands, you need more flexibility in buildings. And I think that it will also be in mobility. We are less mobile, but we demand a lot of things. So you see how the delivery of goods is to your house, for instance. I think that there will be a large boost in small time robots. Delivery by drones and those stuff, so you don't interact with humans, but you can get it via robots and not be infected with somehow. So yeah, I think those are still possible in our urban tissue that we have at the moment. But I don't know. Do you see an example, for instance, what we should need to change, or where should we innovate actually?
Well, in my opinion, it's also about bringing different industries together throughout the whole design process.
Yeah.
I think that if we keep the design teams as they are, we are not going to have enough stimulations and knowledge from the outside world. So we will just keep designing like we used to do 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I think it's very important to integrate prop tech companies and startup companies since the first draft of the design, and really try to understand how the users will evolve in terms of needs, in order to come up with a solution that is sustainable in time and that will be adapted to people through time. I think that the theme of flexibility has been an issue, and recently a lot of architecture practices have been trying to solve the theme of flexibility by creating some shared spaces, open plan offices, and so on. But now with the COVID-19, we realize the failures of having such spaces. So we really need to start thinking how we can make a building usable through time and changeable according to the needs without it being just flexible. I think that's a bit of an easy answer in a way.
Yeah, it's a couple of things where I would like to talk to you about is actually, you say we haven't included innovations yet and we need a different kind of teams, but I think from my experience, it's always that the building owner is from somehow a conservative point of view, like, okay, I always made these buildings this way, and if I'm going to invest in it, then it should be for the next 60 years. So it should stand and last long and etc. So be durable. But 60 years, we can't imagine how we work in 60 years. In 5 years' time, it could be already quite differently. Mm-hmm. So I think that the first step is who needs to change is maybe our clients who rethink and, okay, I need this building. These are the parts that I really need for long term. But there are also parts that maybe I should get rid of in 5 or 10 years, and I design them for 5 or 10 years. So I think that's one of the points. And then you can start implementing all those new innovations without having the burden of guarantees for 25 years lifespan or more. Yeah. And the other thing is, we have this big asset, a big amount of assets of real estate. So, for instance, if you look at an office tower, it has 30 floors. It's not too big, but for the Netherlands, it is quite big. So, 30 floors. There are 6 elevators. In COVID-19, 1 person per elevator could go up, but I need about 1,000 people coming up in the morning. So the elevators won't work. So that's a difficult design decision. What am I going to do then about this? One-way elevators, or is actually high-rise then still suitable for these situations? I don't know. We can't change our existing buildings that easily. and build everything new. That's also not feasible. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, I just think that, for instance, for apartments, especially in big cities like New York, London, Amsterdam, and so on,
Yeah,
we have been trying to maximize the space and reduce the cost as much as possible. So we have an average of 50 to 70 meter squares apartments in those cities. I think that clients' mindset will have to change because the users will need more space now that they know that they can work at home or that they can have homeschooling. I think the clients will have to change their minds about how the design should look like in those terms, and because they will sell more apartments for a higher price if they're bigger and if people can really live as a family there throughout the year without being scared of any pandemic or any other situation. So
yeah,
I think that will change, and I think that's a positive thing because we were trying to reduce the meter squares and as much as possible and squeeze people as much as possible without any courtyards inside the two buildings, without any balconies, etc., etc. So I think that will evolve. In
but
terms of higher, yeah.
yeah, but that's also difficult because who's going to afford it actually? Because in Amsterdam, if I have to pay 15,000 euros per square meter, I would love to have a 120 square meter house, but the average person can't afford it.
Yeah, well, I think that will go also with the economical trend after COVID-19. I think that
Okay.
prices will drop, and therefore, like, real estate developers will start thinking like, okay, how can we, beat the competition rather than, I think
Okay.
that might be a possibility of at least what I hope is going to happen. In terms of tall buildings, I'm specialized in tall buildings actually
Yeah.
from University of Nottingham,
Yeah.
but yeah, we are in a situation where tall buildings are not really sustainable buildings. They're not associated with sustainability and health and well-being. So what I'm hoping is that clients will see the benefit of integrating inside courtyards and communal spaces within the towers, so that people that live in a tower don't just go from an elevator to a door, but have some kind of community spirit inside
Yeah.
the towers. In terms of offices, I think that is more difficult for sure. For instance, the tower of Total à la Défense in Paris is currently struggling because they have a tower from the 80s and a bunch of elevators that go up to the tower. And now with the new regulations, they don't know how they're going to bring all the employees up in the
Yeah.
tower.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's extremely difficult to think like, okay, how can we find a system? But I think that will come with experience as well, probably. I don't know if we will start adapting existing tall buildings with, I don't know, extra elevators or other systems, and maybe because there's a lot of open plan offices as well. I think that those will be closed off a little bit to create smaller offices spaces and smaller groups. I think things will change in that way, but yeah, it's very difficult to assess as of now. We can only be like utopian about it and positive about it, and try to see things in a positive way. But I think that the role of the architect is really leading the client and really try to push innovation even though, they're a bit reticent and there is a budget. But I think if you have a good team and everybody is very motivated to innovate, I don't see why the client wouldn't go for such a team, right? So
I think as a profession, we need to show the clients in a better way what the benefits are of these innovations. I think that we don't do that enough as a profession, not personally maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people think of it as a risk to propose something out of the box to the client. But the ones who dares usually get what they want because if you have a good design with a good business plan behind it, and you can prove that it's not that much more expensive to have a sustainable and healthy environment, then of course the client will say yes. And if you explain it also in terms of investment to the client, I think that that's a very valid point as well.
I think that will work out best if the client is also using the building and owning the building. What you see, of course, if you only see it from a point of investment, so I can put my money in the bank, I could put my money in gold or in oil or in shares or in real estate, and real estate is rather solid investment. Maybe you don't get the best return on investment, but it's still okay. Much better than on the bank. Then you look at it from a conservative point of view, I want that return. If you are using it also, then you can say, okay, I can benefit from it because people need less space because it's more efficient. I have other kind of functionalities that I'm going to use, and that my job benefits from this, or my family benefits from this. So actually, when users and owners are the same, I think that we can more easily show them what those benefits are, and that they are easily convinced about the necessity of innovations. So true. I agree with you.
Okay. How are you guys using parametric models and artificial intelligence in order to come up with better designs?
We largely focus on well-being and sustainability. We use tools such as Rhino, Grasshopper, and some plug-in tools. Actually, what we do is optimization of urban landscape. So where are building blocks? How do they interact with each other? Urban physics. We look at parametric design in case of programming. Where is this part of the program situated in the building, and how could that benefit from this intelligence? I can come up with much more program or schematic designs or that we could do manually. We're using it for a facade to see if we can optimize daylight, and it is possible because we've already seen that we can benefit about 30% more daylight or less artificial light, and about between 25 and 40% less cooling necessary if we optimize the facade. So actually there are huge benefits there that we can meet with these parametric tools. We're still evolving in this, so I think that we don't want to have it, okay, this is where we are now, this is possible, but you can see, of course, there's an evolution in digitization, much more computer based calculation speed, etc., CPU speed. So we can do more and more, and we're also looking into privacy, how you design privacy in a facade, and you can measure that parametrically. And I think that will still get us to interesting architecture. We have shown that already. We are working for Wageningen University, for instance. We did that for TU Delft. We did a big headquarter in the south of Netherlands, a big office building of 40,000 square meters like this, and also a couple of housing. So you see that in a broad field, people are more interested in this way of designing. Just what is necessary, say, evidence-based design, actually.
Well, Marcus, thank you so much again for coming onto this episode. I think that everybody enjoyed all the knowledge that you could bring onto the table. For everybody that is listening, please go and check out the website of the ArchiTech company. I will put it on the link on the description of the episode. And for the rest, I see you next week. And don't forget to follow us on the IBD Hub on Instagram and LinkedIn to get to know more about next episode and the upcoming events. See you soon.